Hey everyone, so I'm a little behind on this, but there's a lot of interesting news, and I guess what I'm gonna say here is probably going to be a different perspective of things, but it's definitely really awesome, and I just figured I might as well make a quick video on these. Basically, I'm a little behind over it already, so from September 14th it was announced that Australia will have their YCS in Sydney, which of course, like, it makes sense I guess, because obviously this year in 2018 when they had the YCS held in Melbourne, which I actually attended, like, there wasn't enough players I guess turning up into the event. As a result of this, it felt like a failure for Konami I guess, and the difference between YCS happening in Australia versus in America, or probably in the rest of the world as well, is that in Australia YCS only happens once a year. As a result of that, it is a much bigger deal for us players over here as well, and because of that we prefer certain locations over others, and definitely not going to be going to next year's YCS because it will be held in Sydney of course, and I don't want to fly out there. I'd much rather prefer it to be at home at in Melbourne, so definitely unfortunate there, but of course you can't really help it. It's always been held in Sydney, and last year they were just testing out Melbourne, but it didn't seem to be too successful. Moving on, we have Soul Fusion Special Edition. We already have announced that Summon Sorceress will be I guess one of the promos for it, so that's definitely going to be really awesome. Of course, there's a chance that the card might actually be hit by the ban list long before it actually comes out in this, so you know, it's just a little slow. And we're also getting a reprint of Isolde Two Tales of the Noble Knights. As we know, this is definitely a really insanely good card that's actually risen up in price as opposed to its opening release price, which was, at the time it was about $8 or $9, but all of a sudden because of Gokis and their extra link it rose up to like $40, which was just way too insane of a price to pay for. And definitely even as of now, despite the fact that Invoker actually got hit, it's still one of the most expensive cards out there for this particular format, so it's definitely really unfortunate. But moving on, next we have Savage Strike anime bosses, so that's definitely really cool here, but we basically have a few new cards. So we have Cyverse Quantum Dragon, a level 7 Dark Cyverse Synchro effect monster with an attack of 2500 and defense of 2000. Requires 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster, so it's generic, that's cool. Its effect is, if you control a link monster, your opponent cannot target monsters you control for attacks or card effects except this one. So definitely a great way to mitigate the possible targets for your opponent. And its second effect, once per turn at the start of the damage step, when this card battles an opponent's monster, you can return that opponent's monster to the hand. Also, this card can make another attack in a row. So again, that obviously, it's very interesting. It seems like a rocket type card or like a Borreload Dragon type card, but this is a Cyverse card, so definitely really interesting to see. But we also have over here Variload Savage Dragon, or Borreload Savage Dragon, a level 8 Dark Dragon Synchro effect monster, attack of 3000, defense of 2500. Obviously that's typical of the villains or the antagonists or rivals main boss monster. 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner monsters, so generic again. You can only use this card's third effect once per turn. So first effect is, if synchro summon, you can equip 1 link monster from your graveyard to this card. If you do, place borrow counters on this card equal to that card's link rating. We'll get to the borrow counters later on, but the second effect is, it gains attack equal to half the attack of the monsters equipped to it by its effect. You know, a nice attack boost, despite the fact that it already has 3000 attack. I don't know, just a nice addition there. But the third effect is, when an opponent's card effect or is activated as a quick effect, you can remove one of the borrow counters from this card and negate that activation. So A negate card plus also additional power, that's definitely a really nice addition to this. Of course, since it's a synchro monster, it's not particularly easy to bring out, because obviously link monsters are significantly better in this particular format, but we'll have to see. And the third monster we have is Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, or Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf in English, which I don't actually see too much of a difference aside from the spelling here. Link 2 fire Cyverse Link effect monster, so this is a link monster this time, an attack of 1800, link markers point to the top and bottom. Requires 2 fire effect monsters, you can only use the first effect and second effect once per turn each. First effect is if a monster is normal or special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand, but you cannot normal or special summon that monster or a monster with the same name for the rest of the turn. It's okay, but I do think that's a little bit of a slow effect with the restriction, but overall I do understand. 2 fire effect monsters could use this in Fire Fist, so that would be pretty interesting. For the second effect, if this card is link summoned by using a Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf as link material, you can add 1 Salamangreat spell trap from your graveyard to your hand. So the second effect is more specific to Salamangreat, but overall definitely a really interesting card, which I don't know, it's not particularly great compared to the previous 2 synchro monsters we talked about, but yeah, definitely interesting to see these new cards here. More so significant for the fact that they're actually a heavy improvement here, so it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how these work in the upcoming set Soul Fusion, so very excited for that. We also have a reveal on the last spell from Zombie Horde, the structure deck. It's called Undead Struggle Zombie Struggle, quick play spell, and you can only use the second effect once per turn. So the first effect, target 1 zombie monster on the field, make it either gain or lose 1000 attack until end of the turn. I don't know why you would want to make it lose 1000, but I could probably guess why they might do this, of course, to avoid certain things, to gain specific effects, but we'll just have to see how the deck synergizes with this card. Second effect is if it's in your graveyard, or if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle 1 of your banished zombie monsters into your deck. If you do, set this card to your field. If this card was set by this effect, banish it when it leaves the field. So you obviously get more than 1 use out of this card. So I don't know, the fact that they want you to recycle this card, there's definitely a key factor with specific combos utilizing this card here, so that'll be very interesting. But that's basically it for this particular video. Just wanted to make a few quick news updates and everything like that, and give my perspective, my opinions on them. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Tell me what you guys think. Did I actually miss anything? But in the meantime, hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.